Happy Thursday. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you, and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. A big one this week for the Niners as they prepare to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl 58 rematch at Levi's Stadium in the Fox game of the week. So obviously there is a lot to talk about here on today's show in order to set the table for that ball game. Coming up, Kyle Shanahan said what about the Kansas City Chiefs? That'll be segment number one. How Colin Cowherd is wrong about Brock Purdy yet again. We're going to take a look at some blockbuster trade targets. And in speaking of some Niners trade buzz, they are tied to a couple of former Niners at the running back position. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson. Could it make sense to bring one of those two players back? We'll also dive into that. Do want to take your questions as well. Haven't done that in a little while because we've had such great content and haven't had the opportunity to take your questions, but we'll open up the floor for a little bit of a mailbag. So use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat, and you can start to use the hashtag 49ers starting right now. And starting right now, let's get the comment section going. We're emanating live from Studio H inside the Chat Sports studios, but where are you? Let me know down in the comment section. We'll start to give you some shout outs here. Producer Jack on the ones and twos. He's making the show go because producer Chip with his girlfriend, who it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Allie G. They are at a wedding this weekend. Chris Waltz is in Indiana. Philly Lights is in Philly. California from Mike Concho. Sacktown from D. Ellington. Santa Clara, California from Niner Trump. Las Vegas from Carolee. Nicholas is in California. North Carolina from Cerebral Assassin. The legend Black Mask, as always, in San Jose, home of the Niners. He was at Niners Cardinals with the Sun a couple of weeks ago. Oklahoma Niner game from Big Worm. Connecticut from Joseph Kelly. Maricopa, Arizona from Wood D. That's a popular area coming up at the start of November, if you get what I'm saying. Sacramento, California from Dennis Youngblood. And Memphis, Tennessee from Marvin Walker. One of my favorite things is to see where people are watching from, because we have people who tune into the show not just from all around America, but worldwide. Programming reminder, if you're watching us live or after the fact, catch us live on Sunday. Niners-Chiefs watch party for the Super Bowl 58 rematch. We'll be live before the game, and then during the game, live play-by-play, audience interaction, super chat giveaways, and then we'll react to everything with the post-game show as well. The best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. So 4 segments coming up here live on the Niners Report, and everything today is sponsored by Game Time. If you want last-minute tickets and flash deals, views from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive, and if you want to save money and go to a bunch of great sporting events, but also concerts, comedy shows, and theater events, be sure to download the Game Time app, create an account, and when you use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off. Terms apply, first purchase only. And then also, today's Niners Report is sponsored by our friends at Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, and right now you get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed, and Prize Picks always has a bunch of great specials to help you get a W in the win column, including with the start of the basketball season right around the corner. Anthony Edwards, more than a half point equals 1 win for Ant Edwards. So all he has to do is hit a free throw or a field goal, and that's an automatic victory for you. So get $50 when you play $5. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And Thursday Night Football tonight, Broncos Saints, Cortland Sutton, more than a half rushing and receiving touchdown. Javonte Williams, the Broncos running back, more than 39.5 rushing yards, and then Spencer Rattler less than 21.5 rushing yards. It is a Thursday, and we're always down to have some fun here on the show. So here's our Super Chat menu. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10, I'm giving you San Francisco. $20, hitting smelling salts. $50 for our October competition. Whoever sends in the most 50s during the month of October, you get a custom Niners jersey from us. Austin Scarberry was our winner for the month of September. And if we get to $100 in total Super Chats, I'm doing a beer boot. Obviously, we really appreciate everybody who donates to the show. It's pretty much like sending a tip here on YouTube. So we're about to get the show popping. We will do a mailbag coming up, so use the hashtag 49ers. If you have a question, hot take, takeaway, ask me anything, just use that hashtag 49ers, and as always, we'll get you involved via the Super Chat function. If you send in a Super Chat, you will skip the line, and we'll answer your questions first. 250 people hanging out, watching live. If you're ready to start the show, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. It helps us out greatly. It helps more people find the stream right here on YouTube. And anytime that we can get more people to hang out and discover the show, the more fun that we have. So support the show for free. We greatly appreciate it in advance. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And with 260 people watching live, we should be able to get to 100 likes as soon as possible. I have a Seahawk fan right here saying, you're not going to get to 100 likes. I have a Chiefs fan who also came up and said, you're a fraud. You're not going to get to 100 likes. You know what I'm telling you? Bet we're going to get to 100 likes right now because the faithful always shows up and shows out. As far as the recent commenter club, Mamba Legend, Dennis Youngblood, Juan, George Soares, Dennis Youngblood again, Antonio Delano, Sacred Intuition, all a part of the recent commenter club. Kenneth, I see you using the hashtag 49ers in addition to Mamba Legend. Good stuff right there. Oh! Black Mask, a $50 Super Chat. Let's get it kicked off. Niners get the monkey off their back this weekend. Besides, we don't want to go 3-4 predicting 3-team sacks. As long as officials call some holding penalties, then the Niners should be able to get after Patrick Mahomes. At least I hope so. I mean, Nick Bosa is having an all-pro caliber year. Jordan Elliott, Malik Collins back at practice today. That's, of course, important for this Niners defensive line. And coming up a little bit later, how the Niners can improve their defensive line with some blockbuster trade targets along the defensive trenches. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Black Mask, we appreciate you with the $50 Super Chat. We're past 100 likes. We have almost 300 people watching live. That number will continue to go up all throughout the day. And we have a stacked show on the horizon. And we're going to start off by talking about what Kyle Shanahan had to say about the Kansas City Chiefs, hyphen with the $2 Super Chat. Talk about the Raiders and their possible Niner trade, please. Yeah, so earlier this week we talked about a Max Crosby potential trade. We're actually going to talk about Max Crosby on today's show. I know that owner Mark Davis had said, we're not trading away Crosby, but Crosby in the locker room today had some interesting things to say. He said, I'm not here for a rebuild. Whether I'm here or anywhere, I am playing to win. And after a long time, I know that Max Crosby got the Raiders logo tatted on him. Doesn't mean he's going to be there forever. We've all been in relationships before, right? And sometimes people in relationships will get their partner's name tatted on them. Does it mean that they're going to be together forever? No, sometimes they break up. Sometimes they get a divorce. Sometimes they cheat, and things happen. Just because Max Crosby got the Raiders logo tatted on him doesn't mean that he's going to be a lifelong Raider, because we have seen husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends get their partners' names tattooed on them, and it doesn't mean that that relationship is forever. So I thought what Max Crosby had to say today was pretty interesting, because after a while, doesn't it just get old when you're with a perennial losing franchise? He's a great player, stuck in a bad situation. The Raiders have not won a playoff game since 2003. George Shores, $20 super chat. You think the refs are going to be calling the game right? Man, all eyes are going to be on the refs. And I'm not going to take like the sore loser type of approach where I blame the refs for the Niners losing. They shot themselves in the foot against Kansas City back in February. There was the Christian McCaffrey fumble. There was the botched punt, not getting points off the Patrick Mahomes giveaway. They didn't block Chris Jones. And if they blocked Chris Jones, Brock Purdy had Brandon Ayuk wide open. There were so many miscues in that game. Jake Moody getting an extra point blocked as special teams let the Niners down once again. But the Chiefs had the most holding penalties in the NFL last year. Didn't have a hold in the Super Bowl. I thought that was weird. All right, more than 300 people hanging out. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. A lot of people got that notification. Now they're in the stream. We're up to $72 in super chats. Once we get to 100, I promised a beer boot, 3 beers, 1 boot. 4 segments coming up. Jack, Chase, talking Niners, and the show starts right now. Let's go. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. As for what we're getting into, what Kyle Shanahan had to say about the Kansas City Chiefs matchup, very interesting going into this game on Sunday for the Super Bowl 58 rematch. Before we take a look at that and how Brock Purdy matches up against this really good Chiefs defense led by defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo and the all-star in Chris Jones. It's going to be a great game on Sunday at Levi's Stadium. And we always try to have a competition inside the walls of Chat Sports. And over the last 7 days, it hasn't been a competition between the 49ers Report and the Chiefs Report. We have picked up 1,300 new subscribers over the last week. Thank you to all of the real ones who have hit that sub button, and I hope that you enjoy the coverage. The Chiefs Report, only 197 subs picked up over the last 7 days. Let's continue to dominate inside the walls of Chat Sports, take down the Chiefs Report, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come on Sunday in Santa Clara. So Kyle Shanahan said this week that when he's gone back to watch the tape of the Niners' 2 Super Bowl defeats to the Kansas City Chiefs, he suffers from a little bit of PTSD. He's like all of us in having to go back, watch the highlights, watch the tape, because both of those games were winnable for San Francisco. You turn back the clocks to the 2019 season, the Niners are up by 10 going into the fourth quarter, and then they get outscored by the Chiefs 21-0 in that final quarter. They lose 31-20, and the quest for 6 was put on hold. And then back in February at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, I was in Las Vegas for Super Bowl week. It was glorious to see all of the Niner red and gold littered and painted all throughout that city. The vibes were great. You're thinking that the Niners are going to complete that quest for 6, but they shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't get helped out by the officials. They should have won that game. They had multiple leads, and they lose 25-22. So here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say about that PTSD in watching the tape from those Chiefs losses. And by the way, Shanahan has never beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They are Kyle Shanahan's kryptonite. Shanahan on the losses. I think everyone understands that we lost 2 Super Bowls to them, so that can give a little post-traumatic stress when you turn on the tape. But I think that's human nature, but you have to make sure you don't get caught up in that. This game has nothing to do with past games. That was last year. And he's right in saying that. Last year's game, the matchups with Kansas City in prior years, they have nothing to do with this game coming up, Week 7 of the 2024 season at Levi's Stadium. Because these teams are different, this season is different. But I'll tell you this, if the Niners are able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, it will be a huge celebration, it will be a morale boost, and it will be uplifting to the Niners' psyche considering what has happened in those previous games. I think that if the Niners can win this game, it will give them that boost in confidence, just like going on the road and crushing the Eagles last year did for this football team because they felt invincible. They were white hot at the time. And if the Niners can finally get over the hump and get rid of the ugliness that has followed them and hovered over them, that dark cloud is the Kansas City Chiefs, it could really do a lot for this ball club. As for what Kyle Shanahan had to say about this Kansas City Chiefs defense, once again, one of the top units in the NFL. He said the Chiefs defense was the best defense they played last year, and it'll be the best defense that they play this year. Here's how the Chiefs defense stacks up. They are 6th in points per game allowed, 17 per outing. 9th in yards per game surrendered at 305.4. 9th in yards per play given up at 5.2. 14th on third down conversion rate, middle of the pack in the NFL. But when teams get inside the red zone, and the Niners have struggled to turn red zone drives into touchdown drives, the Chiefs have a red zone scoring percentage defensively of 46.6%. That is 10th in the NFL. And of course, if you want to look at the Chiefs' offensive numbers, they were to the left side of the screen. And in Kyle Shanahan's offense, he prioritizes and loves to run the football. A huge matchup coming up in this game on Sunday. Can the Niners run it against Kansas City? Chiefs are really good in stopping the run. 8th in opposing rush play percentage, 4th in yards per rush, 7th in rushes per game, 5th in rushing yards per game, and 3rd in rushing touchdowns given up. There was also a theme last year in that Super Bowl between San Francisco and Kansas City where the Chiefs had an uptick in man coverage, especially press man coverage, which really bothered and affected this Niners offense in the Super Bowl last year. In particular, Deebo Samuel couldn't get going. The Chiefs played more man than usual against the Niners in the Super Bowl. Could they do it again? And what they did in that Super Bowl is that why teams have defended the Niners a little bit differently this year. Here's what Shanahan had to say about that Chiefs man defensive approach. They did more in the Super Bowl than they had in the past. I think in the past they were like 20% man, and they went up to 35% in the Super Bowl, and that's about where they are this year. Last year, going into that game, they played more press than anyone in the league all of last year, and they're still doing that this year as well. So when you're in crucial situations, especially in the fourth quarter, they blitz more than anyone in the league last year, and that's true this year as well. So usually, when that's the case, you see man, so it goes with their scheme. And I thought the Niners in that Super Bowl game against the Chiefs were outcoached. Kyle Shanahan and Steve Wilks were outcoached by Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. And the Niners were caught off guard a little bit with that press man. They couldn't adjust to it. They had trouble with it all night, and Spags' blitzes caused issues all night for Brock Purdy as well. And we're about to talk more about that coming up just around the corner. Niners, Chiefs. It doesn't get any better than this. If you hate the Chiefs, I want you to type FKC and hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. A lot more to get to here on the show, but first, today's Niners Report sponsored by our friends at Game Time. If you're looking for the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, an app where prices drop as the event gets closer, where you're guaranteed to get the lowest price. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. A lot of tickets available for this Niners-Chiefs game. And Game Time specializes in last-minute tickets, so the more that you wait until the start of the event, the more that prices drop. And thanks to Game Time Picks, it's not just an app for sporting events. I talk sports for a living. Sometimes I need to unplug a little bit, so I like going to concerts and comedy shows and theater events. So last-minute tickets, see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Use that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. What time is it? Game time. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Niners Report. So in this game against Kansas City, will San Francisco be prepared for the blitz? Steve Spagnuolo is going to dial up pressure against Purdy and the Niners. And here's some in-depth numbers at the Chiefs' blitz attack so far here in 2024 and what they've done previously. This year, the Chiefs have the second highest blitz rate in the NFL. They are applying pressure on quarterbacks on 34.2% of those quarterback dropbacks. Purdy against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl was pressured on 46.3% of his dropbacks. Purdy week 3 against the Minnesota Vikings was blitzed more than 50% of his dropbacks. I threw that in there because that's very notable because Spags, Brian Flores, two of the top defensive coordinators in football, they've had similar plans against Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and the Niners. They've executed those plans, and what have they entailed? A lot of press man, mixing up looks, and blitzing a lot. Here's what Spags said about Brock Purdy. Keep in mind, this is coming from the top defensive mind at the DC spot among all 32 teams in the NFL. I can't find a weakness in this quarterback. Every time I put the film on, I'm more and more impressed. We're never going to go into a game and not blitz at all because we're fearful of it, but I think we do have to respect the fact that he knows exactly what to do with the football. To me, the most impressive thing is even if it wasn't getting it out quick on a blitz, he has a unique way of getting away from it. I just showed a play this morning where I forget what team it was, but they brought quite a few people and he didn't blink, he didn't panic at all, and then boom, he was out of there. He might have gained 2 yards or got the ball away, but that's a pretty good weapon for them to have to negate that part of our defense. And Brock Purdy's legs in this game, the creativity with his feet to either run or to throw it and to buy time in order to find his weapons downfield through the pass game, going to be a pretty important element of this game. So that Spags heaping praise upon Brock Purdy, and Andy Reid said he's the real deal. Listen to some of the top minds in football, and when they say that Brock Purdy is legit, it backs up everything that I've said. As for Purdy against man and Purdy against zone, there was a big Twitter conversation this afternoon as I record this show on Thursday, and it was posed by David Lombardi, who said, what is Brock Purdy's weakness? And some people had some interesting things to say. Brock Purdy gripping a wet football, Brock Purdy playing in inclement weather. For me this year, I think that Brock Purdy is playing the best football of his life. But there's a huge gap between his success against man defense and his success against zone defense. And when Brock Purdy has to go up against man defense, that's been his kryptonite this season. His completion percentage against man, 41.1%, 33rd in the NFL. His passer rating against man defense, 32nd or 32%. That is 32nd in the NFL. His completion percentage against zone, 73.7%. That is 6th among all quarterbacks in the NFL. And his passer rating against zone, 130.7. That's the number one mark among all quarterbacks in the NFL. So Spags is going to look at this. They are going to play man. They're going to play a lot of press man. And he even said during his press conference on Thursday that Purdy does such a great job of finding pockets and throwing against the zone. So other teams are going to try to test Purdy with throwing the Niners offense man looks. Now, it doesn't mean that Brock Purdy stinks. Brock Purdy is still having a hell of a year. Because if you do dial up pressure, he's number one in pressured completion percentage at 69.2%. He's number 2 in passing yards this year, number 2 in air yards. He's not a check down merchant. He can let it fly deep downfield. He's number 2 in yards per attempt at 8.8. He's number 2 in air yards per attempt at 9.8. His QBR is 70.3. That's 5th in the NFL. His deep ball completion rate, 45.5%. That's 6th. And his true passer rating, 102.5. That is 7th. So to round this out, what gives on Sunday? Purdy struggles against man, but he's also good against pressure. Purdy's elite against zone. So what will Spags do? And depending on what he does, how will Purdy and Shanahan respond and how will they perform? Who wins this matchup? Will it be BP, Brock Purdy? Will it be Steve Spagnuolo, Spags, type SS? Let me know down in the comment section. All right, I thought that was a fantastic segment. If you agree, type me. If you were informed, type me. Mamba Legend, type in BP. Arabella Adam, type in BP. Tyrick, type in BP. Caleb, BP. Bearded Niner, BP. Tyrick, thanks for typing me. Bearded Niner, thanks for typing me. Evil Chuck, how about them Cowboys? They stink. Caleb, typing me. Words of Wisdom, what up? Big Worm, I see ya. Good stuff right there. Almost 400 people watching live. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video. And let's move forward to segment number 2, because we have some great stuff to talk about. Segment number 4, we will take your questions. So use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. We'll answer those questions on the back half of that segment. We're at $74 in super chats, 26 away from doing a beer boot. And we did get a super chat from Hyphen. What do you think about the Cowboys' loss? Will we win against the Lions? I think the Niners are much better against the Cowboys. That matchup coming up, not this Sunday, but the next. San Francisco should be able to dominate. And will the Niners beat the Lions? I think the Niners are better than the Lions, but it depends on injuries, how San Francisco is playing. That is the second to last game of the year, and it could have huge playoff implications. All right, coming up next, how Brock Purdy is wrong, or how Colin Cowherd, is wrong about Brock Purdy once again. Segment number 2 coming your way as we're kicking it live here on the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch the show. Here's what we have coming up. I love Colin Cowherd. He is my broadcasting idol. I listen to his show every single day. It doesn't mean that we can't disagree. And we don't disagree enough in today's society while having some constructive and open-minded conversations. So coming up here on the show, I'm going to explain why Colin Cowherd is wrong in his assessment of Brock Purdy. Because last week he said he'd take Bo Nix over Purdy, he'd rather have Dak Prescott over Brock Purdy, and a whole list of other quarterbacks ahead of Brock Purdy. Where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong, and where Chase was right. That's coming your way. Let's start off with today's poll question. Pick a broadcaster. Type CC, type CS, Colin Cowherd, battling it out with Chase Sr. Have some fun with it down in the comment section right now. So Colin Cowherd did his Herd's quarterback hierarchy. And even after the 49ers beat the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, Cowherd still had Purdy too low on his quarterback rankings. Here are all of the quarterbacks that Cowherd said he would take ahead of Brock Purdy. Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jordan Love. Brock Purdy has beat all 3 of these quarterbacks, by the way. C.J. Stroud coming in at number 4. Jaden Daniels, a rookie for the Washington Commanders. Bo Nix. Trevor Lawrence, who is off to a terrible start this year and hasn't been good his whole career. It's all on the hype of what he did at Clemson, but the hype hasn't translated. Caleb Williams, another rookie. Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield. And Kyler Murray. That's a long list of quarterbacks that Cowherd would take ahead of Brock Purdy. And I think that when you have these types of conversations, so many people doubt Brock Purdy because it's a case of draftism. People doubt him. People come up with any type of argument to go against Brock Purdy, and they continue to move the goalposts partially because of where he was drafted. And it's where he was drafted on top of him not looking physically dominant. He's not huge in stature. He doesn't have a monster arm. But this conversation would be totally different if Brock Purdy wasn't Mr. Irrelevant. Because if Purdy was drafted earlier in the first, second, even the third round, he would be the talk of the league. What he's done to start his career has been incredible. He's been to back-to-back NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl. He was top 5 in MVP voting his first year as a starter. I think right now he's playing the best ball of his career because he's turning garbage into gold and maximizing and elevating the teammates around him. He's 20-7 in his career, and he's 4-2 in the playoffs. And already in 2 seasons, Brock Purdy has more playoff wins than Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, and he's tied with Matthew Stafford. And don't you dare tell me that quarterback wins don't matter. We literally judge quarterbacks and their greatness by Super Bowl championships. And Brock Purdy in 2024 is once again an MVP candidate. And he's had to deal with injuries around him. He didn't have Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams all summer. His defense and special teams units, they've let him down. Yet Brock Purdy continues to thrive. He's number 1 in pressure completion percentage. He's dead last in wide receiver target separation. He's number 2 in passing yards, number 2 in air yards, number 2 in air yards per attempt, number 2 in yards per attempt, number 5 in QBR, number 6 in deep ball completion rate, number 7 in true passer rating. Folks, Brock Purdy is the real deal. Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback. All quarterbacks will have bad games from time to time, but it doesn't mean that they stink. And this year, Brock Purdy has been right on par with some of the other great quarterbacks in the National Football League. And the Niners are certainly lucky to have him. Before we continue to move forward on today's show, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily shows on the Niners right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Anytime I'm in front of a camera, on a microphone, I aim to give you Niners coverage that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, that involves you because I want you to have a voice. More to get to, but first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks, for making today's Niners Report possible. This is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And right now, you can play $5 and get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. What I also love about the Prize Picks app, number 1, it's a community. Number 2, they always give you great specials. For instance, Anthony Edwards, basketball opening night. 1 point equals 1 win. All he has to do is hit a free throw or a bucket. He's going to be able to do that. He's a stud among all basketball players. So pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks, and run your game with Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Don't forget to download the app and use that code. So what's crazy about this Colin Cowherd conversation about Brock Purdy is that he said on the Herd on Fox Sports Radio that he would take Bo Nix over Brock Purdy. That is blasphemous, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Blasphemous, as Stephen A. Smith would say. And here's a direct quote from Cowherd on the whole Purdy-Nix argument. He's a more accurate thrower collegiately. I think Bo Nix is better. By the way, he's starting to settle in. He didn't inherit all these weapons, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, and all these wonderful toys to play with. He's basically got Courtland Sutton and cross your fingers. Bo Nix is on a heater. And again, C.J. Stroud, Bo Nix, they have the responsibility to rebuild a team. They don't get the luxury seating from day one. And it's funny because Cowherd said that, and then Bo Nix went out there against the Chargers last week and laid an egg. He had like a negative quarterback rating in the first half. And in that game, he was 19 of 33 for 216 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And this year, when Cowherd said he's more accurate than Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, who did complete nearly 80% of his passes last year at Oregon, is completing 61.1% of his throws. As for Dak over Purdy, Cowherd had to eat the crow again because the Cowboys go out, they play the Detroit Lions on Jerry Jones' 82nd birthday. They got embarrassed, and Dak Prescott was horrible in that game, and Brock Purdy balled and cooked against the Seahawks. Purdy has more playoff wins than Dak already, And this is his second full season as a starter. And he's 2-0 against Dak in his career, including a playoff win as a rookie. Just because Brock Purdy is a limited athlete or because he was drafted late does not mean that he's not elite. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round, and some of the elite things that he does as a quarterback, timing, accuracy, precision, processing, helping to lead the team. Those are some of the same qualities that Brock Purdy has as well. So I just don't understand what people are saying and the arguments they come up with when they try to take away from what Purdy has done. He's one of the more elite quarterbacks in this league. Just because he's smaller, just because he was drafted late, just because he has Kyle Shanahan and weapons around him, doesn't mean that you can't give him his flowers. Kyle Shanahan, one of the top offensive minds in the sport, no doubt about it. But Brock Purdy has also made Kyle Shanahan's system better. Last year, when Brock Purdy was one of the top long ball throwers in the NFL, when he was number 1 in yards per attempt, we finally got to see what the Shanahan offense looks like with the quarterback who is capable of pushing the ball downfield and stretching the defense vertically. The difference in what our eyes show us between Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy is so vast. Jimmy Garoppolo's an average to bad quarterback, and the leap from him to Purdy has been so noticeable. And yes, Brock Purdy does have some good complementary weapons around him. Are we going to act like quarterbacks haven't had great weapons around them? Kurt Warner had Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk. Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, and Edgerrin James. To start his career, Patrick Mahomes had Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Andy Reid. He still has Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. So some of these great quarterbacks have great weapons. It's almost like quarterbacks need really good weapons in order to be successful. Be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Also, be sure to give me a follow on social media. I put out a lot of short-form clips in addition to the long-form clips that you see on this show. It's at Chase_Senior on X and Instagram. All right, so let's go back to this question. Pick a broadcaster. CC for Colin Cowherd. CS for Chase Sr. Who are you going with? I would hope that people who watch this show would type CS, but I love Cowherd. He's my favorite in the business. Caleb, Big Worm, Peter, Black Mask, Thomas, Stat, Anna, all going me. Hey, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. But we appreciate you. Jose Cisneros, I appreciate the honesty. He said Colin Cowherd. That's okay. That's okay. As for our Super Chat menu, we're up to $74. We're $26 away from a beer boot. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10, San Francisco. I forgot my smelling salts. So you want to go run and get those? You can go run and get those. $50. Whoever sends in the most $50 Super Chats throughout the month of October, we're going to send you a custom Niners jersey. Buddy Bear, CS, and it's not even close. Buddy Bear, salute to you. What a guy. I don't know Tony. Chase Mother Effin Sr. Chualure, CS. Arabella Adam, CS. No, drink beers for $20 from Mac's. You know what? You need to give me a little bit more. Look, I said 100 total. I'm doing a beer boot. That's 3 beers, 1 boot. That makes up for it. Kang Guap Jones. CS definitely, but CC is my guy too. Yeah, I love Cowherd, man. He's awesome. All right, smelling salts for that 20 that came in a little bit earlier. We're 2 segments in, 2 more segments to get to. Whew! Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Segment number 3, blockbuster trade targets coming up. You don't want to miss it. Jack said he doesn't want to miss it. Nick Dofer, a $50 super chat. And I'll give Dofer a San Francisco Thank you, Dolfer, for the 50. And then Caleb with the $2 super chat. Why Trevor Lawrence over Purdy? BP all day for me. It's not even close. He's been so much better. You know, Cowherd called Brock Purdy a trust fund kid because he just walked into a stable environment. Well, we've seen what happens when quarterbacks go into an unstable environment. They're cooked, and they can never regain their confidence. Nick Dolfer, $50. Nick, I was actually thinking of you the other night. My running path that I go on is by a popular place called the Katy Trail Ice House in Dallas, Texas. It is a classic southwestern Texas beer garden, and they have this huge billboard outside of it. And a few weeks ago, it said Prost on it. And I was like, Dolfer, Prost. $50 super chat, Prost. At the end of the show, since we got past 100, beer boot, Prost. And then Caleb, yeah, why Trevor Lawrence over Purdy? BP all day for me. I'm in agreement. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And coming up next, some blockbuster trade targets. Let's get into that right now. So the 2024 NFL trade deadline is coming up on November 5th. It's quickly approaching, and a lot of teams across the NFL are going to be movers and shakers. Of course, there will be buyers. There will be sellers. If the San Francisco 49ers want to go all in and they want to acquire a star player, I have 4 star players I'm keeping my eye on, and that's what's coming up on today's show. Superstar player San Francisco could trade for in the lead up to that trade deadline. And let's begin with Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns could just decide to tear it down, rebuild, and start over. Cleveland this week traded away Amari Cooper for a 3rd-round pick to the Buffalo Bills. The Browns are off to an awful 1-5 start. Deshaun Watson struggling mightily. He's arguably been the worst starting quarterback in the National Football League, and I think right now it's looking like it's going to go down as the worst trade and contract in NFL history because Cleveland gave him a fully guaranteed deal, and since he came off that suspension after doing some weird things, he has been a bad quarterback. So, with the Browns at 1-5, no hope in sight, their season is officially over. Could they decide to rebuild and trade away Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett is one of the top players of this generation, and he's going to go down as one of the top edge rushers in the history of the National Football League. He's still young, 28 years old, with plenty of great football ahead of him. He was the first overall pick back in 2017. He's coming off Defensive Player of the Year honors last year. He is a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, and a 5-time Pro Bowler. And yes, as I noted, he was only drafted back in 2017 out of Texas A&M. And his career numbers up to this point are just wildly insane. In 106 games, he's had 92.5 sacks, 180 quarterback hits, 100 TFLs, and 19 fumbles forced. And he has been a consistent contributor. He has stayed healthy. He has been just dynamite for that Browns defense. One of the bright spots for a dubious organization. His sacks by year, 2017 as a rook, 7. 2018, 13.5, he officially breaks out. 2019, 10 sacks. 2020, 12. 2021, 16. 2022, 16. Last year, when he won DPOY, 14. And this year so far, 4. And what's interesting is that you look ahead. Most sacks in the history of the National Football League. Bruce Smith, 200 sacks, number 1 all time. He played for 19 years. Who knows if Myles Garrett is going to be able to play 19 years, especially nowadays with players making more money, more conscious about their health. They're retiring a little bit earlier. There's also the love of the game, too. But let's just say that Myles Garrett finishes this year with 100 sacks total. He is on track to overtake Bruce Smith for the most sacks all time. One of the best edge rushers in the history of football. I wasn't lying when I said that. And can you imagine if you have Nick Bosa at one defensive end spot and Myles Garrett at the other? And get this. You know how Nick Bosa is making $34 million per year? Myles Garrett, under the current construction of his contract, is making $25 million per year. What a wild and incredible 1-2 punch that would be. So with that, we pop up today's poll question, and this will be the pinned comment on today's Niners Report. Who is your dream trade target for the Niners? Let me know down in the comment section. And if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down, let us know. And by the time you do that, we'll be back here talking San Francisco football. Blockbuster trade target number 2, Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Let's check in on Dallas here, who the Niners will play in Week 8 after they play Kansas City. Dallas, on Jerry Jones' birthday, how disrespectful. Lost 47-9 to the Detroit Lions in Week 6 and got completely embarrassed at home. One of my favorite clips, by the way, coming out of that game is when there was somebody on all fours throwing up on the concourse. It looked as though her mom was holding her hair back and a Lions fan was doing the gritty right by her. And then a Cowboys fan was doing the gritty by her. Again, how disrespectful. But in Cowboys land right now, Mike McCarthy is a lame duck head coach. The fan base hates him. They want him out of there. Dallas should have moved on after last year's playoff no-show against the Green Bay Packers. And remember here on this show that I questioned what the Cowboys were doing this offseason? I had said, I think they're secretly rebuilding. Their biggest acquisitions and moves this offseason were bringing back a washed Ezekiel Elliott, and they poached Eric Kendricks away from the Niners. They also let some really marquee offensive linemen walk. They lost their DC. They brought Mike McCarthy back. Secretly rebuilding. Jerry Jones has denied it. I think that's exactly what Dallas is doing. And then on Monday, in the aftermath of that loss to the Lions, Jerry Jones had a wild interview in the Dallas area where he threatened to replace the radio hosts who were asking him questions. And remember when Jerry, too, said, we're all in going into 2024. Doesn't look like the Cowboys are all in. And with Micah Parsons, you invest in game changers. Aggressive businesses win in the corporate world. Aggressive organizations win in the sporting world. And at 25 years old, Micah Parsons is one of the top game-changing talents in the National Football League. And if he's paired up on the opposite side of Nick Bosa, that is another incredible 1-2 punch for the San Francisco 49ers defense for this year and for the foreseeable future. Parsons throughout his career, 13 sacks, 13 and a half, 14, only has one this year, but he suffered an ankle injury a couple of weeks ago. And for players in their first 3 years, most sacks all time, look at where Parsons is. Reggie White had the most through 3 years at 52, Mark Gastineau with 47, Derek Thomas with 43 and a half. What could have been with former Niner Aldon Smith? 42 sacks his first 3 years, and then obviously he ran into a lot of issues, but then Micah Parsons with 40 and a half. The Dallas Cowboys have already paid Dak Prescott more than $60 million. CeeDee Lamb just signed a contract this offseason, which pays him $34 million. Can Dallas afford, and do they want to pay Micah Parsons more than $30 million as well? And could they decide to retool the organization and rebuild a little bit? And could that make Micah Parsons expendable? Think about it. So pick an edge rusher here between Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. MG for Garrett, MP for Parsons. Share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section because you have a voice on this show. Today's sponsor, our friends at Game Time. Look, growing up, I loved going to sporting events. It's a big reason why I fell in love with sports. I think sports, more than anything in the world, brings people of all walks of life together. Because regardless of somebody's background, what they're about, their views on things, their skin color, political preference, sexual preference, if you're at a game and the Niners score a touchdown, you're looking to your right, you're looking to your left, you're high-fiving everybody, and you put together great memories. With the Game Time app, you could put together great memories. Why? Well, they have last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. They have great tickets for all types of events as well, from sporting events to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. And the more that you wait to buy your tickets, the more that prices drop. I also love the user interface on the Game Time app. It's why it's the best one in the ticketing marketplace. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You get a panoramic view of the stadium. They have flash deals, and they guarantee that you're going to get the lowest price on the Game Time app. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Plenty of tickets available for a Niners game, home or away this year. Just use the Game Time app and tell them that ChatSports sent you. Blockbuster trade target number 3, Dexter Lawrence. Nose tackle, defensive tackle for the New York Giants. Dexter Lawrence is a stud. And as we know, over the last couple of years, San Francisco has really struggled to stop the run. Well, what does Dexter Lawrence do at an extremely high level? Stops the run, but he's equally as good of a pass rusher. This year, from the nose tackle spot, he has 7 sacks. Why that amazes me is because when you play nose tackle, you line up directly over the center, but you always get double teamed by the right guard and left guard. Yet, he can beat those double and triple teams. And he's been able to do that this year. 7 sacks, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 89.6, run defense grade of 83.6, a pass rushing grade of 78.4. He has 11 stops, 13 hurries, 24 pressures on 196 pass rush snaps. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, the Giants stink. What an awful football team. Their defense is actually really good. Touchdowns allowed per game, they're 6th. Sacks, they're number 1. And Dexter Lawrence is a big reason for that. They are number 1 in sack rate, and TFLs, they're 2nd. Dexter Lawrence, his play going a long way with that statistical category as well. And then blockbuster trade target number 4, we talked about this player earlier this week here on the show. That's Max Crosby. I know that Raiders owner Mark Davis came out this week after they traded away Davante Adams, and he said, we are not trading Max Crosby. But then on Thursday, Crosby had some very interesting things to say in the locker room. He said, I'm here to win. I'm not here to rebuild. And regardless of where I am, I'm always going to play to win. I know that Max Crosby got the Raiders logo tatted on him. It doesn't mean that he's going to always play for the Raiders. And at some point, if you're working for a company where there's constant chaos, constant dysfunction, you're always getting beat out by your competitors, and you can never find your groove because there are so many distractions. Aren't you going to look to go elsewhere? Aren't you going to look for greener pastures? Look, why a Crosby trade could make sense. Raiders traded away Davante Adams. It signals they could fully sell. They could trade away Adams, trade away Crosby to stockpile picks in order to improve their roster. They could also use those picks to move up for a quarterback. And for San Francisco, they get an elite player who's pretty affordable. For the production that he puts forward, Crosby's a great deal. 2024 has a dead cap charge of $30 million, a base salary of $24.5 million. 2025, a cap hit of 28.2, base salary of 22.2. Those are cap hits, not dead cap charge. 24.8 for 2026 cap hit, and then 18.8 is the base salary. And for a team that acquires Max Crosby in 2024, new team would acquire him and owe him $16 million in guaranteed money. But in 2025, non-guaranteed at 23.1. 2026, non-guaranteed at 19.7. There is a steep dead cap charge that the Raiders would have to take on, but are they willing to take that on in order to get good draft capital so that they can start that rebuilding process to try to get their franchise quarterback? Last 4 years, Crosby, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, they've all been a part of a nucleus on the defensive side of the ball across the NFL that's been very impressive to watch. And they're all some of the best pass rushers and edge rushers in the National Football League. I love the way that Max Crosby plays. His nickname is the Condor. He plays with a relentless motor, nonstop, so much speed, physicality, good pass rushing moves. The dude loves ball, plays the game the right way, and that's a big reason why in 88 career games, he has 57.5 sacks, 134 quarterback hits, 97 TFLs, and 20 pass breakups. So as we round this show out, if the Niners want to go all in and they want to put their poker chips to the middle of the table, and they want to pull off a blockbuster trade for a superstar player, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence, Max Crosby, they fit that category. So let me know, which trade target is your favorite? Share a name or names with me down below in the comment section. It could be a player who we talked about on today's program or somebody else. We got a big boy soup. Black Mask, San Francisco. It's not even a debate. Brock is the second best quarterback in the league. He was robbed last year of the Super Bowl and league MVP. Redemption will come. If redemption comes in the form of a Niners Super Bowl, we will be in New Orleans for the Super Bowl coming up in February. And if the Niners win, you will see me on the streets of San Francisco partying it up with everybody, documenting the footage, and putting together a video right here on the Niners Report, because I will be a part of that parade in San Francisco. And that would be some cool content here on the show. Black Mask, appreciate that, my man. That's 250s as part of the October competition. Climbing up the leaderboard there as one of our Super Chat OGs. I do owe a beer boot, and I will do that after segment number 4, because we got past $100 in total. We're up to $178 on today's show. We're not worthy. We're not worthy, but we appreciate you. All right, coming up, some more trade talk for the Niners. Could a reunion or reunions be underway? We're going to talk about 2 running backs who could make their way back to the Niners, and then we're going to take your questions. It's coming up right now. Could we see a reunion between the San Francisco 49ers and Miami Dolphins running back Jeff Wilson? If that doesn't happen, could we see a reunion between Raheem Mostert and the San Francisco 49ers, as Mostert also plays for the Miami Dolphins? They have a pretty loaded backfield, clearly. And then also on the back end of the show, we're opening up the floor and we're taking questions from some of our legendary and loyal Real One subscribers. Before we do all of that, as we accomplish another great show here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr. Programming alert. We will be live on Sunday, Niners-Chiefs watch party. You don't want to miss it. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. Jeff Wilson reunion. Could the Niners explore it going into the trade deadline on November 5th? Christian McCaffrey is still hurt, Achilles tendonitis in both legs. Jordan Mason is banged up. So will the Niners make a move at the running back position? Jeff Wilson has scheme familiarity with what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. And when the Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey a couple of years ago, they traded away Jeff Wilson to the Miami Dolphins so that he could get some more playing time. Bill Barnwell of ESPN talked about this potential trade. So let's share the screen and I'll read off what he said in his ESPN story. Here's another reunion for a team riddled with injuries at running back. The 49ers were already down Christian McCaffrey before Jordan Mason suffered a shoulder injury in the Week 6 win over the Seahawks. Mason briefly returned to the game before exiting for good, and while the team believes he avoided a serious injury, we have seen shoulder injuries linger and worsen for backs in previous years. Rookie Isaac Guerendo showed off his burst with the 76-yard carry, but his other 21 rushing attempts have gone for just 64 yards. He has great raw speed and acceleration, but he's not experienced or consistent enough as a runner within this offense to thrive with the sort of regularity the Niners need from their backs. Patrick Taylor Jr. is in the mix. They could also bring back Matt Breida, who is a free agent, but adding someone with experience as the lead back in this offense would be helpful. Unlike Breida, who was more of a change of pace and home run hitter during his time in San Francisco, Wilson was used as the top back more often. He's 4th on the depth chart in Miami behind Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and Jalen Wright, and the Dolphins have competed with the Browns to be one of the league's worst offenses. Wilson would be useful to have around if all the other backs in front of him get injured, but he's not going to play much otherwise. And this is a player who, since he is buried on the Dolphins depth chart, you could get him for a very affordable price. And I like Bill Barnwell's trade idea. You'd be giving up a 2025 6th-round pick for Jeff Wilson, and then you also get a 7th-round pick from Miami in this trade. Whichever running back gets carries within this Kyle Shanahan offense, outside zone scheme, very running back and running friendly, they're going to be able to find success. And with Jeff Wilson, a North Texas legend, you have a lot of confidence that given his scheme familiarity and what we've seen from him before, he could be a productive back on this team. Although I will say, love the skills and the ability of Isaac Orendo. And Patrick Taylor kind of impressed me on Thursday night. So let's go full screen here. Would you make this trade? T for trade, P for pass. Share your opinions with me down in the comment section and let me know if you would make this move. To another Miami Dolphins running back, Maurice Jones-Drew, a great running back in the day with the Jacksonville Jaguars, also put together a piece on NFL.com and explained why the Niners should explore trading for Raheem Mostert. Enter some old friends who left the Bay Area a couple of years ago, joining former Niners coach Mike McDaniel in South Beach. Mostert and Wilson are solid veteran options who would add some quality depth to this Niners attack. Plus, the Dolphins have a pair of young running backs in tow, second-year stud Devon Achane and budding rookie Jalen Wright. And if we're being honest here, which I always am, Miami's season hinges solely on Tua Tagovailoa's health, not its deep group of offensive skill players. Getting something in return for Mostert or Wilson, who both produced under Shanahan's watch in San Francisco, makes sense. And you know what's crazy about that Dolphins running back room? Raheem Mostert, 4.3 guy. Devon Achane, 4.3 guy. Jalen Wright is like a 4.2, 4.3 guy. It's one of the fastest running back rooms in the history of the NFL. So Maurice Jones-Drew could see and envision Wilson or Mostert being back on the San Francisco 49ers. Like Wilson, Mostert's numbers this year, not great. He did start off the year injured. His yards per carry, not good, but teams are defending the run, and they're stacking the box because without Tua Tagovailoa, you've seen Skylar Thompson and Snoop Huntley be the Dolphins quarterbacks. They don't think that they're going to be able to beat their defense by throwing the ball. So 25 totes for 89 yards for Mostert this year. What's funny is that one of Isaac Orendo's pro comps was Raheem Mostert. Taller backs who were bigger, very fast. Legendary Niners running backs coach Bobby Turner, had said going into that Seattle game, and they mentioned on the broadcast, he was asked, like, is Orendo faster than Mostert? He said he's an eyelash slower than Raheem Mostert. So pick a former Niner who you would want to trade for here. J-Dub for Jeff Wilson, RM for Raheem Mostert. Let me know once again. That's one of today's poll questions. And on the other side, we're going to start to take your questions from our loyal subscribers. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks, for making today's Niners Report possible. Get $50 when you play $5 with Prize Picks. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. And Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still win cash and cash out. If your lineup isn't perfect, you can double your money even if one of your Prize Picks doesn't hit. I also love Prize Picks for some of the specials that they have, like this one. It's a shoo-in. It's an easy dub. Throughout the month of September, it was more than a Caleb Williams half passing yard for the entire month. And for basketball opening night, Anthony Edwards needs 1 point for you to win on opening night. So get $50 when you play $5. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for that deposit special. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Niners Report. Start to take your questions here. Mamba Legend 24. Hey, Chase. Will the Niners' offensive line be the best in the league within 5 years from now? There's no telling that they're going to be a top 5 offensive line 5 years from now. And if we're still under this Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch regime, they have neglected the offensive line since they took over this organization in 2017. They've paid at times for offensive linemen. Weston Richburg, Trent Williams. They used a second-round pick on Aaron Banks. They drafted Dominic Puni in the 3rd round. So they have invested there, but the offensive line simply has not been good enough. And when you look ahead 5 years from now, which offensive linemen are still going to be on this team? Dominic Puni? That might be it. They might let Aaron Banks walk after this year. I don't think that Trent Williams is still going to be playing. You're going to have a new center. Hopefully Colton McKivitz is no longer the right tackle for this team. So they're going to have to do a lot. Hopefully in 5 years they have a great offensive line, but that's a little bit hard to predict. I do appreciate the question. Kenneth, did we overpay Brandon Ayuk considering he has always had bad drop problems? He has not had bad drop problems. He has been a consistently available and consistently productive player. Has he dropped passes from time to time? Yeah, he's dropped some gimmies from time to time, but last year he was one of the top wide receivers in the game against Arizona. You saw that he's starting to turn the corner. He had nearly $150 in receiving yards. I think Ayuk's going to be able to be a really good player for a long time because he has great footwork. He has great route running that helps him create separation against man, against zone. He's an explosive player downfield. He can create and pick up yards after the catch. And he's gotten better every year that he's been in the NFL. Hopefully that progress will continue, although this year he's certainly off to a slow start. Let me also explain how the wide receiver market is going to continue to change. Like Justin Jefferson got $35 million per. Another wide receiver is going to overtake him. So in a couple of years, $30 million for a number 1 boundary X wide receiver actually might be a nice little steal for San Francisco because the NFL salary cap is going to continue to be on the uptick. Sky Shouter, when will Dre Greenlaw come back? We need him. The Niners have sorely missed him. His replacement, Devondre Campbell, has been one of the worst linebackers in all of football. Shout out Kevin Kruger, who does a great job on the Krug Show and the House of Strauss. He had put out some numbers earlier. Devondre Campbell's ranking among linebackers, a minimum of 200 snaps. Missed tackles, tied for 5th worst. Missed tackle percentage, tied for 4th worst. Receiving yards given up, 249, 6th worst. Receiving percentage, 10th worst. Passer rating, 115.6, 18th worst. The Niners are missing Dre Greenlaw. And they're missing Dre Greenlaw because of his play, because of his swagger, physicality, attitude, his ability to be fearful or inject fear, I should say, into the opponent. As for when he comes back, look, he tore his Achilles in February. He might not come back at all this year. If he comes back, maybe it's December, maybe it's January, but we're not close to that. Big Worm, when do you think they will get Ricky Pearsall and Dre Greenlaw back? Obviously, just talked Dre Greenlaw. For Ricky Pearsall, I'm excited to see him play because he has good footwork, good route running. He's tough as nails. He's a willing blocker. He can contribute as a return man. He can go up and get it. He's a little bit small in stature. I think he's more of a slot guy. I personally wouldn't draft slot guys in the 1st round. I talked about that on draft night. But on this Niners team, with that route running, with that footwork, he's slippery, he's smooth. I think that he can be a weapon for this team and help this team in the red zone because what have the Niners not done this year? Brock Purdy last in receiver target separation. Guys aren't creating separation for him to make his throws easy. I think that Pearsall comes back either against Dallas or after the bye week because you have Chiefs-Dallas bye week. Chris Waltz, Nick Chubb. A Nick Chubb trade, not going to happen. 1, massive injury concerns. 2, the Browns really need him because their offense has been terrible. Number 3, I don't think the Niners need to make a big move for a running back. Like they already did that with McCaffrey. They're paying him. You're going to have to re-up on Jordan Mason's deal. because he's on that rookie contract, which is very cheap if you want to keep him around. And Nick Chubb, I know that he's a scheme fit with what Kevin Stefanski wants to do, but he's an older back with an injury history. I'm not going that route. 21, NC Dorado. Trade for either Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, or Denzel Ward. Yeah, this week I talked about Crosby on the show, talked about Myles Garrett, two generational pass rushers who, opposite of Nick Bosa, would just be so good. They would just terrorize opposing quarterbacks. Denzel Ward, look, I don't know if the Niners need a corner. You have Mooney Ward coming back. Deommodore Lenoir has been awesome. Renardo Green is starting to emerge. Isaac Yiadom, he's disappointed me so far this year, but Denzel Ward is like one of the top corners in the National Football League. Don't forget to hit that sub button. We appreciate everybody who supports the show. Largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube. And keep it locked here for daily coverage of the Niners. All right, we have to do a beer boot. We have to do a beer boot. We'll do. All right, I'll chop it up with everybody here until Jack gets my beer boot ready. Sky Shouter saying chug. Mir Vahaba. Are you telling me to suck it? Happy suck it, Chase? You're not going to get me, but I'll say it for you. Tyrek's up, Chase. What's up, Tyrek? DeForest Buckner from Chris Waltz. That's a big name. I talked about him a couple of weeks ago. Black Mask, best damn show. Look, I do think we do something special here. And you have to have confidence in yourself and everything that you do, right? I've worked hard at this for a long time. I've wanted to do this since I was 5. I was doing high school morning announcements. Then I went to a community college. And then I went to another school. And I did radio and television there. I got my grades up, transferred into my dream school, Temple University, did a bunch of broadcasting there. And I've been in Illinois, Pennsylvania, now here at Chat Sports, doing radio, podcasting, digital. I was a television news reporter. I've covered everything from homicides to college football to professional football. So I've worked hard at this. Got to be confident, too. I think I'm one of the better sports broadcasters in the industry. That's what I think. That's how I approach it when I get on this microphone in front of this camera. Finesse Gang, $2 super chat. Jawan Jennings in jeopardy of missing Sunday. Dealing with the hip. Hasn't practiced all week. It's obviously not ideal. We'll learn more tomorrow. Thank you, Mir. Appreciate it. Dante, hey Chase from down under. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. My Aussie cousin, I'm actually taking her to the airport tomorrow. So I'll see her tomorrow. Flying back to Melbourne. Hoping to get there at some point soon. I do not know what Sakat is, Mir. What is it? We're $20 away from 200 in supers. Is anybody going to get us there? Mir said a Jewish holiday. You know what? That's a bad job by me because my stepdad, who helped raise me, is Jewish. And I went to synagogues growing up, celebrated Hanukkah, Yom Kippur, and I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, the evening of Wednesday, October 16th through Wednesday, October 23rd. Known as the Feast of Tabernacles or the Feast of Booths, celebrated for 7 days. Wasn't Yom Kippur recently too? Why no D winners yet from Kenneth? We've seen him a little bit more. Mir, awesome. Well, happy, how do you pronounce it? Sukkot? Happy holiday to you. How is it celebrated today? A building of a sukkah. You eat in it for 8 days. Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, it's good to learn something. Sukkot. Gotcha. Yom Kippur was 5 days ago. Okay. Nice. Thank you, Jack. All right. So we got some Coors Light here. I don't want it to blend in with the green screen, but you see the foam at the top. All right. Beer boot for getting past 100 in supers. We're 20 away from 200 if anybody wants to get us there. Keeping our eyes on Guardians, Yankees. 2-1, bottom 6, 1 out, man at second for Cleveland. Can they get an insurance run? All right. Type chug in the chat. Here we go.
Hello, it's Jack here. Whoa, holy crap. Everyone type chug in the chat. Let's go. Everyone get those chugs in the chat. I'm going to get this super chat up too from Finesse Gang. Everyone type chug. Everyone type chug. I see you. Let's go.
Ugh. Whew. Cold and a lot of liquid. Beer boot coming. Ugh. Ugh. Chug buddy from Caesar. Black Mask. Are you related to Patrick Mahomes? You sound like him. That's funny. Okay, we are going to dip out. We are going to sign off. Thanks to everybody who watched today. I will be on with Larry Krueger tomorrow at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 10:45 a.m. A lot of Niners content to come out over the next few days. Live on Sunday. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Thanks for supporting us. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you soon. Peace.